Tell you, I'll catch up. A couple minutes too. I decided to come on here because we got to do the catch up thing, right? So, is there anyone out there? Let me know in the chat if you are picking up this live feed. I'm starting to see that the live feed is now working. And some of you in the chat, let me know if you can hear, if the audio and the visual is okay, if everything is all right on your end. I see there's some people waiting here on the live, so just to pop a hello. Well, I see I'm hungry now is here, and John is here. Yes, hi everyone, and welcome to Star Lordess podcast. We're going to try and see if that song works for the podcast as well. Welcome everybody. Yes, I see. Okay, Brenda is now in the chat, and we're going to be welcoming our guest tonight, Brenda Tarot from YouTube's Tarot channel. Brenda Tarot. Brenda Tarot Card Reading is the official name. I put the link to her channel in the description box below. But yeah, I'm sure just waiting for more people to come in here. It looks like we've got some things going on here. Very excited for tonight. Oh, here's Mama Bear. Hey, sweetheart, how are you? My good friend from Florida, she is here. Nice to see everyone. So I guess we can get started with the evening's podcast. Brenda, you can jump in anytime you are ready. You're ready to go. I assume you got the link and you'll be able to join us. We're going to be talking tonight about some tarot, psychic phenomenon, all of the really cool stuff that we like to discuss on the channel here. And let's see. Here we go. Here
Hi,
she is.
Star. How are you?
I'm pretty good, Brenda. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Brenda is joining us live here from Ontario, Canada. Everybody say hello to Brenda. We're going to be learning a thing or two about my guest this evening. Well, at least I hope she will tell us some interesting stories that she has to share. She's been around for quite some time. Like your YouTube channel, Brenda, I remember watching it before I started my channel. I subscribed to your channel, I think in 2016. How long have you been around?
Yeah, I started in 2015, so 9 years.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I always liked your channel. I subscribed to you and a few other YouTube channels back in the day. We are the OGs, right?
Yeah,
From
for
the
sure.
early days of YouTube. And I think the one thing that really struck me and impressed me as at that time I was a potential YouTuber, I wasn't on there yet, was I loved your intros.
Oh,
You always
yeah.
had the coolest intros.
I had made up a whole pile of them ahead of time, and depending on the sign and what mood I was in, I would throw them out there in the beginning. But I have to say, my latest YouTube intro was designed by a viewer and a subscriber of mine over in Poland, and she does websites and she does this sort of thing, and she's an amazing woman. And out of the blue, I got an email and she said, Brenda, I follow you. And I heard you say on your last video that you wanted to change something up on your channel. I wasn't referring to my intros. And she sends me the intro you've seen lately.
Okay.
And she designed it for me and did it for me and then made me the ending as well. So I haven't been using them because my videos are longer now. And so the intro is me coming out and saying hi and blah, blah, blah. Here's your video. Right. So I bounce back and forth between using actual intros or not.
Right.
So, yeah, I know I had a whole pile of them and I would just, depending on the mood, and they were fun to make. And people would make comments on them. They would say,
yes.
oh, I love your intro today. And,
Yeah. You had the best. You always had the best intros because I felt you're a Pisces, correct? Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Well, Pisces are very artistic people, and so I always thought that, why is it the Pisces always have the best, the most artistic stuff going out there? It's like you guys have a vision of things and you know how to bring it into reality.
Yeah.
Like
It
it's
and
good.
it's true. It's funny. I could, if I needed a paint swatch and I only saw the color visually, I
Mhm,
could go to the paint store and get the exact color. And my late husband would say to me, "You seem to think everybody can do that." And I everything that, and he'd say, "Not everybody can do that. You think everybody can do what you do." And
mhm,
I did. But maybe it was because of the business I was in too. You had to have an eye for color and shape and
mhm.
design and all of that. Because
Wow.
my actual brick and mortar business was, I owned hair salons and I was in the beauty business for
Oh,
43 years. So
yeah.
that's letting all of you guys know just how old this crone is, this OG that's out there.
Come on, Brenda, you look fantastic.
Well,
You're
hey
old.
everybody, I'll be 73 in February. So I feel wonderful and I feel blessed. And everybody thought I was the rich kid on the block. And I was rich within myself, not rich,
Yes.
with
Yeah,
abundance and
yeah.
money.
Mhm.
So interesting. Yeah. Um,
Well, that's so cool. And speaking of things that you can do, there's a wide variety apparently, aside from just reading tarot. You're also medium and
yeah.
a Reiki master as well and
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff. So you're all in. How old were you when you realized you had a gift for things like this?
Well, my mother had gifts and
Mhm.
we all knew she knew things. And she just accepted it and she never really tapped into it, but my mother was able to do, she just seemed to know things that were going to happen, and my brothers and I would look at her and go, well, that's mom, she seems to know things, right? And we never questioned it. Myself, I knew I was different from the time I was a kid. We lived on a flight path, where on a farm at that time, and I'd had dreams of horrible dreams of airplanes crashing into large skyscrapers, and I was on the ground digging with the dust and the ashes.
Oh,
And whenever planes came over, I would hide under the trees in the orchard because I was scared of seeing this. Well, years later, I was having my first Reiki session because I'm a late bloomer. I decided to take up golf when I was in my 40s, and I pulled my back out. It was that game where you would go whack and then you'd say a swear word, whack and you'd say a swear word, right? Because I figured you had to beat that ball to death, and I hurt myself. Anyway, while I was having a Reiki session, I saw things I'd never seen in my life before. And she had me facing down. And when she put her hands on me the first time to touch me, her hands sizzled and she pulled them off me. And I thought she burnt me because we were beside a fireplace too. And I thought, was she putting hot rocks on my back or what was she doing? And she said, no, Brenda. She said, I saw you laying there in a suit of armor and all the light was shooting out of the rivets. The rivets were flying out of your suit of armor. She said, oh my God, girl, you have no idea how spiritual you are. And I hadn't tapped into this completely yet at that time. Well, I got this vision of these people below me, naked, no hair on their bodies, reaching for me. And she said, "Oh my God, the things you can see." She was able to see what I was seeing, and she described what I was seeing, and I said, "I don't like what I'm seeing." And then 2 weeks later, the towers were attacked. So I had
oh my
known,
goodness.
after
Oh
all
my
these
goodness.
years, what I had been dreaming as a child, right?
Oh wow.
So also I was told by another very seasoned empath and psychic, and she was a healer. She was a client of mine, well up in her 80s at the time.
Mhm.
And I had told her that I had these dreams too of people coming through my bedroom window. I would get out of bed, I would open my bedroom door, and I couldn't see beyond the light. And they would look at me with gratitude and keep going out the door. And she said, "You're a soul rescuer." So I passed all those people that had been killed in those towers with her help.
Is
And I can
that
tell you
right?
what they looked like. I can tell you what they were wearing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was an amazing experience for me. But she said, you're just tapping into what you've been, which is your purpose, what you've been doing, what you've needed to do all along.
And
And
how old were you when this
when
happened?
this happened, I must have been, I would say probably, Well, no, when did the towers come down?
Oh, so you're talking about when
When
right
the
when the
towers
tower
came down, I passed them
in
through, but I had
2000,
dreams from the time I was a little
yeah,
girl, these other things happening and
right.
not
Oh,
knowing. And my mother is, her ancestry is Cree First Nations from out west
okay.
in BC. And my mother had gifts. She could stop a clock that nobody could fix. And unfortunately, it was in anger. My father had taken a mistress my age at that time when I was 25. And my mother said, "There's the clock. You'll never forget this time. So take a look as you go out the door." And it was a clock I had bought them for their 20th wedding anniversary. And it was a German pendulum clock, and they're very tricky anyway. They have to be put on a very steady wall or the pendulum will not function properly. And she stopped that clock, and nobody, they took it everywhere to clock masters to get it fixed. I finally took it back. Nobody could fix it or understand what was wrong with it. And remember my father saying, "You know, your mother stopped time. She's a witch." And I said, "No, my mother's very gifted, and you need to be very afraid."
Right.
And my dad, he shut up right away. But
That's a
I've been
pretty
called
incredible
by,
story.
I've been called
Yeah,
during powwows. Uh,
right,
if the chief is blessing the regalias on the Friday night, if it's raining, my
yeah.
daughter would call me because my son-in-law is Algonquin, and she'd say, "Mom, this is my daughter. I need you to do your thing." 20 minutes later, she'd say, "Thanks, Mom. It stopped raining." So, and people knew it was me because I was in Cuba. I had to be 40
Wow.
years ago when Cuba, you're lucky if you had a toilet seat on a toilet, right? To get over
Yeah,
there.
right.
And we were on these little two-cylinder or one-cylinder mopeds. And I was dying of the heat. And I said, "I'm calling in the spirit, please. All I want is a drop of rain, just a drop." Well, this black cloud came up over the island. It was like he opened a zipper, and it rained so hard that the baseball hat peak was on my face. We had to turn, it was in our shoes, in our wallets, everywhere. Everybody's bike conked out but mine because they got wet. These little cylinders. And we were miles away from our resort. I mean, this was pretty
Wow.
scary to be out there in those days. And there was one girl from Germany, and they got her bike going. And she couldn't speak English, and I couldn't speak German. And our husband said, "Just get back to the resort and tell them we need their help." And my best friend of 58 years, she turned to me and she said, "Damn you, girl, you did this." And I said, "All I wanted was a drop." So people knew I could do this. It was funny.
Yeah.
But,
That's
people don't know that about me, and they do come to
yeah.
me about rain and that. Um,
That's an incredible story. Like, you
yeah,
also mentioned something to me about being able to clear energy from
yes,
homes you had
yeah,
mentioned once
yeah.
before. You want
Um,
to tell me the story about what happened in your condo building? That was a pretty incredible story.
Yeah, and I've had to I did see well, I'll tell you the first one. Well, no, just lately. There was a couple in our condo building, and they were very heavy drug users and whatever, and they were big fighters, and the neighbors around them are senior, and the neighbors said they were being killed and murdered, and it's very difficult to evict people these days unless they go into major rent arrears, and it takes court cases and things like that to get
True,
them
true.
evicted. And so they finally got them evicted, right? And
Mhm.
everybody on the floor, they said to me, "Oh, I know Brenda will have some sage, some white sage. Well, ask her if she's got a sage stick." So they came to me, and I looked at them and I said, "What for?" "Well, we want to clear that apartment." I said, "Have you ever done a clearing before?" "No." I said, "Well," and I laughed because everybody wants to smudge everything, right? "Oh, I'm going to smudge this and I'm going to smudge
Yeah.
that." Well, they don't realize that it's a very sacred thing for us to do. It's a ceremony. You just don't wave the wand and say, "Go away, spirit." There's things you have to do. So they said, "Would you do it?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And they wanted to be there. It was quite interesting. So I did. I cleaned the room, and I saw there was no evil energy there. It was a sickness. They had shown me that these people were sick, and people that take drugs and they do that, they're sick. They've
Yeah.
allowed this and enabled this to consume them, and they're not well. So, and I could see who was going to move in, and I said to them, "You'll be happy." They're showing me the energy of two women, two young women that will probably be taking this apartment.
Right.
So, or there's going to be two women that'll come to look at it, but there will be a female energy that will reside in this. So I said, I think you're okay here. So they were fine. But yeah, that was interesting too. But um, my niece had a house in the country, and they actually did a TV documentary on the house because there was so much activity, paranormal activity in that area where she lived, that they did a TV documentary on it. And she had the gift to see things, and she knew there was evilness in the house. And she said, "There's two ghosts in my house. One's a man, he's been shot and murdered, and the other one's an old lady, and she gets mad when we drink out of a mug for tea. Every morning she'll come out and we'll find the teacups laying on the counter. She says, I've seen her. And her husband was had heart disease, and he was young, and he did die from it. And she said whenever they showed up at the table, I would look across the table and I'd say to her husband, something's going to go wrong today. They're here. And the day he died, they were both there. And the day my husband died, they showed up. But I was in the house one day, and she said to me, we woke up in the morning to a hornet's nest in our closet, out of the blue, full sized hornet's nest. It was the humming woke them up. So she said, will you come in the house and see what it is? So they had this sort of story and a half house. And I said, okay. I went upstairs, and I this thing tried to take me over. I just felt this and saw in the peripheral this black cloak come over me, and they were hitting me on the back of the neck, taking my breath away. So I turned around, right, met them on their own language level, and I backed this person, this entity, into the closet. She said, oh my God, that's the closet where the hornet's nest is. I said, well, that's why. So I said to her, let's go downstairs, but you walk in front of me because they're going to want to push me because they know who to come to, right? So I went downstairs, and we went downstairs, and she was showing me her rent. She wasn't afraid at all, but she knew, and she was trying to take pictures of it, but it was daylight. She wanted to get pictures of this entity around me, and she couldn't get it. Anyhow, I could feel it every time as we got closer to the bottom of the stairs. When it got close to me, the whole back of me was covered in goosebumps, and it was freezing, freezing cold on my back. So we get down to the basement, or down to the main floor, and the dog didn't react to any of this. She said the dog is so used to it because there's so much in the house.
Yeah.
So anyway, as she's talking to me in the peripheral, I could see this head peeking out around the stairway at me. And it was a young man. I would put him about 18 years old, dressed in 1800s outfit, and he wanted me to pass him over. And he manifested himself and showed himself to me for me to do that. So I had done that. And she said after that day, there was no paranormal energy in that house again. But he came to me, and the only way he'd get his attention from me was to try to hurt me, you know?
Mm.
So I dealt with that. That was the worst one I've ever dealt with. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's an interesting thing that we do, but it is a ceremony, and it's sacred, and it's meant to be that way. And I don't do this on my own. This is brought in by spirit. But
Yeah.
being native, I also bring in the 13 grandmothers and the 7 grandfathers as
Mhm.
well to step into the circle with me and protect me. But you know, I've always seen myself in a circle of light,
Right.
and it's being torches around me. And when those torches start to get bigger, that means I need to be awake. I need to
Yeah.
be aware of what's around me. Be cautious of it.
Okay. That's
Yeah. So
good
it's
that you have
interesting.
that
Yeah.
point.
And a lot of people
Uh,
don't know this about me because I don't
and
talk about it. I don't discuss that part of me. But
well, they know it about you now.
they know it about me now. Yeah. So it is. It's very intriguing.
Speaking of spirit being around, like I know when I'm doing, like we both do the same thing on YouTube with the
Yeah.
cards and everything, right? We do the weekly and monthly for the signs. Now, sometimes viewers have asked me, like, how do you do? And so I'll tell you how I do it. When I'm shuffling the cards, because I pre-shuffle, and I'm thinking of like the Aries, and I'm thinking about the week or the month span, and then I start shuffling, and then I put the spread out. So I just sort of think about Aries, sort of tap into it or whatever sign I'm doing, and then that's what I get is what I get.
Yeah.
So I know some readers will do meditation prior to,
Hmm.
some people will call on guides. Like, how do you do it when you do the monthly and weeklies for the signs?
Clear the space, remove the past, for I found my happiness. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay, so things like that you can do. I mean, I didn't. A lot of people, do different things. But basically, when I'm doing any of my, even for my weeklies, and people have to
Right.
realize that we're doing this for the masses. And yes, there's
Yeah.
going to be some that will say, "Gee, that hit dead on," and others are going to say,
Mhm.
"No," but it's not meant to be a private, right? It's
Right.
it's general. Usually, what I do is I ask Spirit to step forward and guide my cards as I shuffle them, so that Aries can see, know, and expect what they need to see, know, and expect for this week. And that's what I say to everyone I do. Please show me what Aries needs to see, know, and expect.
But right. I do that, and before I do any type of this
Yeah.
work, I always put a bubble of white light around me so that I'm guided by the correct, energies
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
forward. I
Now,
also have a stone that my friend gave me. He was in Mexico, and he brought me this stone, this big black stone, and I hold on to it,
yeah.
and I it's amazing. It kind of removes any kind of negative energy that's around.
Yeah.
It's like the stone absorbs it. So if
Yeah.
I'm feeling anxious or I just heard some disturbing news or something before I'm going to do a reading, I always hold on to that and it just sort of makes it go away, put the white light on, and then I'm good to go.
I've also seen you hold the selenite wand in your hand.
Yeah, I have it right here. I always do. It's for
Yeah, and I've
concentration.
noticed that too. And on mine, I have, I have it on my desk. And
Oh, right.
when I got this, there was a tiny little inclusion, and now I have a huge angel inclusion in it, and two young ones at her feet, and a newborn being born in the top. So
Oh,
this is growing inclusions all the time. It's amazing.
incredible.
And
That's
it's,
incredible.
it's not the raw, it's been polished. But if you were able to see it, you'd be able to see the angel that's in there. See her?
Oh, I see. I see it. I
Yeah.
do. I
And it's
see it.
amazing. It wasn't there before, but I always have my amethyst around me too, because that's my stone. It's a very healing and calming stone. I have
I have one
shungate.
as well.
Shungate.
But, this I find that it helps me, like, even on when I'm not doing cards, if ever I need to concentrate, I
Yeah.
hold on to this. It helps me to keep focused. It's like just even just doing this or, holding it, it helps me to keep the energy on point. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot
It
of
does.
people ask that, "What is that in your hand that you're"
Yeah, no, they don't. Yeah, you don't. Oh, I get it. I get it completely.
Mhm.
Some people, I mean, I wear them around my neck sometimes. They're hanging on the side of my screen here, and I have
Right.
shungite as well, which removes the negative ions and energy of computers and technology as well. Because we live on our computers, right?
Right.
So yeah, I have a huge from Brazil, huge. It was going into a museum, an amethyst, which is growing geodes inside, and I have salt. As you can see when I can't see behind me now, but I have all the Himalayan salt lamps around me as
Yeah, I
well
into
for
those
the
too.
ions, and yeah, I find they help clear the energy around me too. But
Mhm.
yeah, so tarot's interesting because I never used tarot. I was an intuitive reading and I didn't reader, and I didn't realize that when I lost my late husband suddenly, my whole life was in shock, right? We did everything together. We had motorcycles, we had a motorhome, we were going to watch all the sunsets, and he got pancreatic cancer and died very fast. 13 later days he was in the hospital and he was gone. We were all shell shocked.
Oh, so sorry.
And I internalized it all because I was a strong one, and I wasn't doing any of this work. And I lost myself in psychic rooms. And I would book readings. And when I went in, they never read me because I read them and I had no cards. And they were shocked. They said, "How do you know all this? You're not even using tarot cards. How do you know these things about my boyfriend? How do you know these things about me?" And I
Mm,
didn't. And I just, spirit was channeling through me.
right.
So I did that for a couple of years, and I was trying to get myself together, and I was still working and running a business, and not, I should have taken counseling for grieving counseling. I never did, and I just kept moving and thought I could push my way through this, which I did.
Mhm.
And one day, some girl, another reader out here on that venue platform, she said, "Brenda, you're wasting your gift. You need to share this with other people." And I said, "Oh, I couldn't go out there in front of strangers and read them." And she said, "You've been reading professional psychics for the last couple of years." I said, "I know, but we're a family."
Mhm.
I felt connected with these people, right? Because we did the same thing. We understood each other. It was a family to me. I felt comfortable. But strangers? What am I going to talk to people for 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour and charge them for it? Well, anyway, I didn't know tarot and I had to learn it, right? I knew nothing about tarot. Well, you should see all the cards I have now, right? And
Yeah.
everybody reads tarot differently. I teach tarot now. I mean, it's crazy.
And how
And
long ago was this when you first started doing it?
when I started out here 9 years ago,
Oh, is
I
that right?
didn't
That's when you
use
first started?
I didn't use tarot. No,
Yeah.
I was an
Huh.
intuitive reader and I was a medium. So anyway, I Damara knows. She's going bam. She knows who I am. Yeah.
Oh,
Anyhow,
yeah,
so I
I
had
just
to learn
a
it,
minute
and
to say hi to everybody in the chat and
yeah,
thank you all for showing up here. And I see I got a super chat from Trent Zone.
yeah.
Thank you very
He's a
much.
client of mine. Yeah, and Damara is too. Yeah, they're in here. Yeah. Thanks,
Oh,
Trent.
that's
He's
so
a
nice.
great guy.
That's
Yeah, he's from
so nice that
Chicago.
everybody. Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
Damara
pardon
is
me?
a seasoned entertainer who's walked the streets with Oprah Winfrey, and yeah, she has sung with some of the biggies and greats of Motown. Yeah, she's
Is
an
that
amazing
right?
lady. Yeah, and she's still entertaining. She's incredible.
There-
Anyhow, I had to
mhm.
learn tarot, and tarot everybody reads tarot differently. We all
Right.
need to know what
Right.
those suits
Yeah.
mean, right? But
Mhm.
I mean, people sometimes readers read just by the graphics and the pictures on their
Mhm.
cards and they don't, but those numbers mean things and those suits mean
Right.
things and all of those things. And so here I was saying, oh my god, it's so much easier if I don't need cards. But I felt that people needed to see something tangible, something physical, that they were going to see,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
Because they're paying you to do a service. And so I did. I learned how to do it. And when I started out, you have to know, everybody, I'm being transparent. I had cheat sheets everywhere. And I
Oh,
have this big 37-inch monitor screen, which is an old TV. And because
really?
I had to do that, right? I mean, I was still learning, and I had to force myself to get out there if I was
Mhm.
going to do this. And so I did, but after that it came easy. And I also used the Angel cards by Doreen Virtue,
Right.
and
Right.
because they had the writing on them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I realized I don't want to do this anymore. I know what they mean. I don't want people to think that I'm reading things, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not now, of course, but when I first started out, I had all these cheat sheets all over my screen so that I wouldn't goof up. And yeah, it was funny. But you know what? And what I love about being intuitive is I don't need those cards. And
Yeah,
being a
but
medium,
like you said, though, you made the point that the clients need the cards, right? They
yes,
need to and I feel like some people read coffee cups. I enjoy there's someone on YouTube who does a coffee cup
yeah,
reading. I think
yeah,
she's really cool. There's some who read, playing cards, which my mother used to read playing cards
yeah,
when I was
cartomancy,
old.
yes,
And some people, use a crystal ball, and some people just, I think they're all just sort of, um, they're tools that we use to focus in, whether it's a crystal ball, whether it's teacups, whether it's whatever it is, cards. I feel that if you're really, like if you're legit on here and you're doing the spiritual work, when you use the cards, they come out and then you get sort of inspiration from spirit. That's how I feel it works. Whether it be a coffee cup or whether it be whatever it is you're
yeah.
reading,
Oh yeah,
you're getting
it
some
isn't
kind of
us. We're not.
yeah, exactly. It's like something is removed. Like even
Yeah.
the numbers on the card, sometimes I don't always go by the numbers, but sometimes they'll stick out for me. All of a
Yes.
sudden, I see the three in there, and it's like something's telling me,
Yeah.
tell them that the three means something.
Exactly. And
So
and
you're,
that's
yeah, you're,
exactly
yeah,
how I do it too. Spirit will
yeah,
say, Spirit will say, this is what you need to talk about. You need to tell them about this number. And
right,
we know what these numbers signify, right?
right,
So yeah, I do that too. So yes, everything is guided by spirit.
yeah,
We're not the healers. We're just a channel. And the other thing is, that
exactly.
I tell people when they want to learn tarot that the one word you need to know before we start this, because when I teach it, I send out manuals and all this stuff. So they've got a manual to work on it while we're doing it because I do people virtually, right?
Mm,
And I'll say to them, the one word you need to never forget is trust. If you're asking spirit to guide your cards or to guide your messages, you better listen.
Yeah.
Because, we've all done that where we've shuffled the cards and we go, no, I don't like that one. We
Mhm.
put it back in, right? And the next thing we know, our cards are on the desk as though somebody knocked them out when we're shuffling. Or we shuffle again, that card will come up every time. And it's
Yeah,
like, Spirit
exactly.
gave me that card. Why did I
Or
not listen? Right? So you have to trust.
or the jumper, the one that jumps out of the deck or trip or
I take
falls
it.
down. You pick it up, you put it back in the deck, and then it pops up.
Yeah. And so I've learned all those flyers and jumpers I
Yeah.
use, right? And I'm sure you
Mhm.
do too, right? They mean something. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, you
So,
might as well use them because 'cause they're gonna come up even if you don't. You put them back in the deck, I find they pop right back out again.
exactly, and that's spirit telling us what we need to do,
Mhm.
right? So it's amazing. Yeah, so I had to learn. I basically had to, I asked a few people, and everybody did everything different, and they said you can do this or you can do that or whatever. And another guy told me to keep shuffling and think of a number, and eventually that number will show up, and it gets less and less. And everybody had their own take on how you learn tarot, and so I just basically flew by the seat of my pants to learn the tarot. But I
Yeah.
don't need them, and I tell people them they're just a tool for me, to use, and I feel lucky. But I'm also an empath, which makes Reiki very easy to do,
Mhm.
because your pain jumps on me. Okay, if it's emotional, I know what's happened. If it's, I can
Mhm.
see past lives. When I worked on my master for first level, she said to me, Brenda, I was intimidated, and oh, I got to work on her, right? And she said, I need you to talk to me. And I said, what do you want me to tell you? She says, I want you to tell me what you see. I said, I don't like what I see. And she said, what do you mean? I said, you've been strangled. I can see the rope hanging on your neck. You've been flogged. I can feel the welts on your back. I can see the stab marks in your rib cage, and you were shot between the eyes. And she said, yes. She said, other masters have told me that. She said, you
Really?
have the gift to see past lives, which means you have the ability to do psychic surgery to repair that past so they can have a better future now.
I've heard about that psychic surgery.
So
I'm
I
very fascinated by that.
when I and not everybody I lay hands on, okay?
Mhm.
Because I bring spirit in, I bring in all your spirit on one side of the bed, all my spirit on the other. And they guide me through this whole thing. This isn't, we have to bring spirit in to do this. We're just a channel, just like we are when we do tarot,
Absolutely.
right? So it's all
Absolutely.
brought in by divine energy. And I tell people, if you believe in prayer and you believe in things that can happen, then your healing will be more successful.
Mhm.
So
Uh,
yeah, I'm lucky. I'm lucky that I'm an empath because it makes Reiki easy for me because your
well,
pain jumps on me and I know where to put my hands on you.
I am also an empath, and I can, when I first meet people on, when I'm doing the live readings, somebody's in New Zealand, and I'm picking up, and all of a sudden, sometimes I'll pick up on something and their pain and so forth,
Yeah.
and I have to brush it off
Yeah, because
because
you're gonna cry. You get emotional. It takes us over.
yes, exactly, exactly. I did a reading for one woman a couple of years ago, and she was, I didn't know it at the time, like, she never divulged that during the reading, but then halfway through, I was, like, so sad, and I was feeling really drained and
Yeah.
felt like crying, and then she told me that she was dying. She had stage 4 cancer, and she was dying,
Mhm.
and I was like, I ended up in tears, she was in
Yeah.
tears, I
Yeah.
made her cry. And I
Yeah.
said, "I can feel your drained energy." She said,
Yeah.
"Exactly,
Yeah.
that's how I feel." And I said, "I feel so sad for you because I can feel the depression that comes around you as a result of having a debilitating illness." And
Yeah.
she was like, "I'm sorry to put you through this because I can tell that you're picking up on." And I said, "Well, I can't take if I could take your pain and it would take it away from you, but it doesn't work like that with empaths. You feel the pain, but they still do too.
Yeah.
So there's kind of no point in me feeling the pain of somebody who's going through something like that,
Yeah. Well,
except if I want to identify or understand what
it's an amazing blessed gift that we can have that.
yes.
But it's the same with Reiki. When I took my first level, I said to her, don't bring your bed. I'll put my bed up in the living room. I had the big screen TV on with a beautiful ambient music and a scenery. And she watched me and she said to my husband, who was there because he took first level, she said, watch Brenda when she walks by the TV. The minute I walked by the TV, it went into satellite pixels. The minute I left it, the TV came back on. I did it about 4 times. And she said, Brenda, you're so powerful that you have to promise me after you work on a client that you rake off all that energy, because she says, I've
Oh,
seen people like you walk away from that bed and the client has been rolled right off on the floor following your energy.
wow.
So I went, oh, that wouldn't be good. She said, no. She said, that just proved to me. And she said to me when she came into my house, she sat down. And I'm Cree. She's Mohawk. And she sat down and she said, whoa. And I said, what? She said, I just saw the eagle fly over your head. And I
Wow.
said, yes. The eagle is my main totem. The white wolf I see here in my peripheral walks around my condo all the time. Doesn't come in my room, checks out. It's my doorkeeper. And the horse. And I always owned horses. We were horse people in our family. And so I have three major totems. But she saw that eagle come over my head. And when I attuned her, because you have to learn to attune your master at the end, on my
Mhm.
final level of attuning her, she said to me, where do you want me to sit? And I said, well, I know where you want to sit. You're going to want to sit facing that lake. She said, yeah. And the minute I put my hands on her shoulder, this red hawk flew by my window 3 times. And she said, oh my God, did you see that? And I said, yeah, it was a red-tailed hawk. She said, that's my totem.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's
Uh,
amazing. It's amazing the
uh,
connection we make
uh,
with people out there, right? So I
abs-
like to think that a lot of my gifts are attributed from my ancestry.
yeah.
I've known I've lived many lifetimes. I know I've been a man in many lifetimes. I've had too many dreams about monks and nuns, and I'm not Catholic. However, I was drawn, and you know the St. Joseph's Oratory, right? Yeah, I was drawn. I had a dream about seeing all these crutches, and I was asking my clients, and I said, "Does anybody know of a church or somewhere where there's all these crutches?" And someone said, "Yes, Brenda. It's called the St. Joseph's Oratory, and it's in Montreal."
Right.
I said, "Oh, it exists." And she said, "Yeah, why?" And I said, "Well, I had a dream, but it was more than a dream, Star. It was a calling." I booked a flight out of Toronto. I didn't tell anybody where I was going, and I went there on my own. I was meeting another couple because there was a buddy of my late husband's who had stage 4 cancer, and I wanted to see him to do a healing for him. And I had 5 names on a list, and one was a psychic. The other ones needed me to pray for them. So I'd never been to this church, never been to Montreal. So she met me and picked me up. And I said, the first place I have to go is this church. Well, she kind of lost her faith with politics and so many doors. Even in Italy, I've been in grottos and walked the crypts of the popes
Mhm.
in that Vatican, and I've done all that. And
Right.
I had this list of people. Well, my list now, my darling, is a binder this big of people
Wow.
who come to me to be on this list. And I call it my morning ceremony, sunrise ceremony is what I do for people, right? So I
Wow.
went into the church and I had a little iPhone 3 at that time. And I walked up to the altar in the main part of the church and I took a picture. And that wasn't Mary holding him, that was St. Joseph holding that child at the altar. Never saw anything of it. And so I went into the room where all the candles were. And it was like, whoa, you would have thought you were in Mexico in the night of the dead, right? In December.
Yeah.
And I'm not Catholic. So this was all new to me, right? To see all these candles. But I was guided to go in there. And there were the crutches. Tons of them, right? You know about it. Well, I didn't realize it, but I started touching them and my hands were black and I had this crowd ensuing around me watching me. I didn't know till I turned around. They were all watching me and my hands were black. So I went up and I started lighting candles for these 5 people. And I did what I wanted to, the healings and the prayers of St. Joseph, St. Andre. Interesting story, St. Andre, the
Mhm.
name, right? So I did my thing there, except there was one girl and she was a psychic and she'd met this man who she truly believed was the one. And I bought a big candle, wouldn't light. I lit it, wouldn't light, wouldn't light. I spent $30 on candles, wouldn't light. And I said, Jesus, I'm on my knees for this woman. She was raped. She saw her mother stabbed to death and killed by a boyfriend. She was in foster homes. She had a horrible life. All she wanted was this man in her life. Wouldn't happen. So couldn't figure it out. Went to the crypt. Gets better. Went to the crypt where he's supposed to be laying, right? And there's all these little notes and where he's been canonized in his heart. And I go over to the crypt, big in the other room, and there's a monk in
Mhm.
that room. So I thought, ooh, should I be in here or not? Anyway, he was about 10 feet behind me and he was just peaceful doing his thing, right? So I went up to the crypt. It was winter. You know how big that church is. It's freezing. So I took my hat off, I took my gloves off, and I wanted to give him grace and gratitude and thank him for all the healings that he had done for all these people because he was such a meek and modest, sickly man himself, right? This little priest. And he built this huge oratory and never lived to see the dome go on it. In because he attributed the healings coming from Saint Joseph through him, through Jesus, right? And the little chapel out the back where he started out in those many years ago. So I put my hand on the casket where I thought maybe his feet would be. I don't know. And I was had my head down and I was praying to him silently, giving him grace and gratitude and thanking him. All of a sudden, my hands start to get hot. Now this crypt is black marble, it's cold. And I hear ba-boom, ba-boom. I could hear his heart. I could hear his heart on the other side of that wall where it was canonized. And I thought, what in my ears? It was like, what the heck is going on? Okay, this is the truth, guys. I had my hands here. All of a sudden, my hands independently went across that casket. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what's just happened? So I walked my way over to my hands, and that monk behind me charged across the room, dropped to his knees, and put his head in his hands up against the casket. And he starts chanting. And I'm
Wow.
thinking, okay, what's going on here? Right? What's going on here? Okay, so it kind of spooked me out. And I thought, okay, he's almost leaning on me, this monk. And I'm thinking, okay, something's happening. Go back to my hotel. I look at my iPhone 3, and that picture I took was nothing but an explosion of white light. You couldn't even make it out what that statue was. Everything
Wow.
else was in clarity on the altar. So I thought, what's going on in my life, right? Now you got to
Mhm.
remember, this priest's name is Saint Andre.
Nice.
So I had met this guy on the dating site, just chatting, right? And his name was Andre. Oh, I was born in Montreal, yada, 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 right? And I said, oh, that's nice. You know, I was just playing it cool. And 4 days later, I came home and I met
Mhm.
this man named Andre, who also climbed up those stairs on his knees, those 200 and some odd stairs, because he wanted to know what it felt like for those people. He hadn't
Wow.
been in that church in over 30 years. Okay. And when I walked into the restaurant to meet him, and I was
Mhm.
hesitant because I thought, oh, I don't really like his picture on the dating site. He looks like Johnny Cash and he looks mean and he's all in black and I don't know. And he's wearing
Brenda,
black
I
hat.
hope
No
Andre's not
offense. No,
watching this. I hope he's not watching this right
he is. He's here. No offense. Or anyway,
now.
Mark. Anyhow, I told Mark he looked like my first husband and or second husband, and he did. So anyhow, I walk in and the maitre d' says, I said, there's someone here wanting to meet me for lunch. And all of a sudden he said, oh, that might be him there. All of a sudden I see this great big medieval door hit the ground with all the grommets on it. And there's this man sitting in full armor on a horse. And
Wow.
I jumped. And the maitre d' said, excuse me, madam, are you okay? And I went, took my breath away. And I said, I don't know. I think I am. So I went over there and I gave him a hug and he sat down and he came right up to me and looked me in the eyes and he said, I lost you 500 years ago. And I said, I'd come and find you.
Is
That's
that
not a pickup
right?
line anybody just makes up.
Oh my
So
goodness.
his
Wow.
name's Andre.
Yeah.
What led me to that church to meet this man,
It's
right? Spirit.
incredible.
Spirit does things for you. It's amazing. It's just amazing. And there he is, my twin flame, because I I said to all my girlfriends, put out a grocery list for what you want in a man, right? And all I said was, I want someone who's more like me than any of the others have been. You have to know, ladies, I've been married 3 times, divorced after 15, and widowed after 22. And here I am on the third one of 11. And he's my twin flame.
Yeah.
February the 22nd, I'm February the 23rd, and he gets absolutely
Wow.
everything spiritual I do and never questions one thing.
That's an incredible story, Brenda. Thanks for that. That was I mean, you have a lot of incredible stories, but that was a really nice story. How and you and Andre are still together now.
Of course, yeah.
And
Till death
I
do us
know.
part again. Yeah.
You know, it's funny you speak of churches because it reminds me of my own experiences with the church in Portugal in Fatima. You know, are you
Oh,
familiar with
yes.
Fatima, the place where those girls saw the
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Well, people come from all over the world to do pilgrimages. They go on
Yes, I know.
go across. So when I was there, I didn't know what to think of it. I was just, there as a visitor. And I was like, sure, I'll check this out because being a spiritual person, you want to know. I walked past through those gates, those big gates where everybody's on their knees and there's a massive gate there. When I passed through those gates, I felt incredible. I don't know what it was. Something came over me
Yeah.
that I just felt super calm, super,
Yes.
and then we walked all along. I lit some candles for some people and so forth. And we walked all along there, and there was one room that was for monks. Like, I went in there and I was whispering to my husband, but he's like, Shh, you're not supposed to talk here. But, it was so incredible.
Yeah.
And then when I left there for days, I was kind of dozy for a while. Like, I was not all there. Like, my
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
spirit
It had
hadn't
this amazing enlightening of some sort.
yeah, it was like it was trying to process the spirit was trying to process the experience. And then what happens is a week later, we go to my husband's brother's place in Madeira, on the island of Madeira in Portugal. Now, this is what they call the tip of Atlantis.
Oh,
So
yes.
I'm in Atlantis now, and I'm just like my soul and spirit on that trip, let me tell you, was like over the top. When I came back, I swear I was not the same person. I was always psychic throughout my life, but I feel that I came back after that trip even more psychic because it seems like I had more powers.
Oh, I'm sure you
I
did. And
Yeah,
and to be drawn into those amazing spiritual places.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We went to see the crypt of Saint Rosalia in Palermo, and she's renowned for having wiped out a plague that happened. Okay,
Oh,
and she was, apparently the story goes, she was to be married off to some man, and she didn't want to marry that. She had turned to faith, and she was going to marry Jesus. Right, she wanted to be a nun, so she ran off in her early 20s. And they found her bones later in this, if you know the story on this, on Saint Rosalia, and people go in there because it's very well. My husband went in, and my I took my best friend to Italy with me a few times, and I lost her. She ended up on the steps outside the crypt, and I went outside to her when I found her, and I said, Lynette, what's wrong? And she was crying. She said, I've been here. I was a beggar. I sat on these steps begging. And I said, yeah, I know. We've been here. The three of us been here. We knew that. We could feel it. All of us were emotional. My husband and I. And we just were overcome. We knew we had been in there before in another life. And she said, I've been here. And she said, I was a beggar. And I can tell you what, I could see her. She was in these brown rags sitting on those steps. And it was really weird. So we get these visions of past lives as well. And spirit wants, and I think spirit steps forward at these times to say, you need to think about how you're living your life now and maybe what happened in your past. In other words, maybe we need to be more humbled. Maybe we need to be more compassionate. Maybe we need to be more tolerant with mankind and our friends and people in us. If we look back, where were we then? She was a beggar, and she was bawling her eyes out. She said, I was a beggar here on these steps. And she was literally, I couldn't find her in the crypt. And I said, where's Lynette? We've lost her. And there she was outside. She said, I've been here. This is why we're here today. I said, yeah, it's
wow.
amazing. Isn't it amazing what happens in our lives? It's just incredible, a spirit. But I've been
I
in so
feel
many different crypts, and I've even been in prehistoric caves where there was, rituals in Mexico in 212. And I sat on those pyramids in I didn't go to Chichen Itza. I went to Tulum, and I sat on them overlooking that beautiful Mediterranean, and I started rubbing the stones, and I
Mhm.
saw the spears come down, and I heard the chanting that went on there in those days because they used those places for sacrifices. They weren't just religious ceremonies either, right? So
Yeah.
it was amazing. And I think in 212 was when things started to really shift in me. And then
Mhm.
215, I came out, doing
Right.
this.
He
So
came out, the
I
spiritual
came out.
closet.
Hey, I came out. Yeah. We talked about that
Oh,
earlier today, too. Yeah.
and you know
My,
what? We're very, very glad that you did
oh,
because,
thank you.
you're here to tell this incredible story, and I'm sure you've got a million more
Yeah.
stories as well. Um, but I wanna ask you about private readings. You do private readings too?
Yes, I do. And
Oh,
so,
do you do yours live or do you do them on camera or, like,
I do
people
both. So
Oh,
basically, I have a great website where you know, we all know that YouTube is a beautiful platform to market ourselves, to generate traffic to our websites if we have websites, and or to our PayPal's or whatever the case is. So I have a website where people can click into it. They can actually go to the calendar and book their own appointment. They can
Oh,
make a
cool.
payment on PayPal. So I know whether they're having a 30-minute, a 45, or an hour reading with me. Most of them I do on Skype, Zoom. I can even do them on a StreamYard and on YouTube or on Facebook Messenger.
Yeah,
Now,
Facebook and stuff like, yeah, that's what a
and
lot
I
of them.
do them live where I can see them and they can see me and they can see the cards. And now, you know, I work with two cameras and I have split screens so they can watch me and the cards too. But
Yeah, I
those
like.
that have time zones that aren't convenient for them on the other side of the world, we have hours and hours, right? Because we do people
Mhm.
all over. Um, then they'll ask me for an email reading and I charge $10 more. So it's $60 for a 30-minute email reading. So the
Oh,
camera's on my hands. I'm saying hi,
I
you know, hi
mhm.
star, these are your questions. I'll have your questions written out and I'll say, okay, let's do this reading on this particular question. And then I upload it and then I send it to them and they can download it and they have that video to view. But I make
Yeah,
sure that they know it there's going to be a 48-hour time span before,
right.
because I'm doing
See,
lives, which, you know, in
yeah,
between, right?
I mostly do live on mine, but I just had an email today from a woman in London, and she says that she wants me to do the video. I do it once in a while. It's very very
Yeah.
rare, but daytime zone. So what I do is I go live, I do the reading, talk to her as though she were there,
Yes,
and
same with me.
I do the reading, and then I upload it to YouTube and put it under unlisted, and
Yeah,
then
you can do that too. I do it. I
yeah.
send it to my drive. I send it to my
Oh, okay.
drive. Then I download it to my storage, and then I send it to her. But I know you can do it that way as well. Yeah, on
Mhm.
YouTube. So yeah, I
Well,
mean, we need to offer the people what they want, right?
yes. Yeah,
And
right.
actually, that's kind of
Uh,
easy to do because we can sit in our pajamas in the morning and we can do it, right? And we can get it out to
yeah,
them.
true.
Where if we're doing live, you know, they're going to see us and we're not going to be sitting in our pajamas, heaven forbid,
Yeah,
you know.
and it also takes longer when you're doing it live because you're talking to the person and so
Yeah,
forth.
because
So, at least
yeah,
you can just get right down to this when you're
yeah,
doing it on a video.
yeah. And I'm kind of
So
I think you're the same as a reader because you and I have connected. That when, you know, I have a timer set so they know that their 30 minutes is up. But I tell them if I feel spirit says you need to know more messages, I'll give them to you. And I don't charge them extra for that. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
same.
But I
I'm the
also
same.
do what you call a verification read, a 7 card pull. I do a 7 card verification read on any brand new client, and that's to tap into their energy. I do cold reads. I don't want to know anything about you. Okay. I hate it when people send me, like, if they just want to say, well,
Mhm.
romance, or I want business, or I want, because most of
Yeah.
my clients are, believe it or not, single female professional women, and it's corporate money.
Oh yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's kind of the same for me. Mostly,
yeah,
it's
because let's
the
face it, money's very important. You're single,
mm,
you're female, you're working hard to get up that ladder of success, and it's important that they know where they are. And a lot of them have problems, you know, with their jobs and their bosses and whatever. But yeah,
exact.
a lot of my women are like that. But
The
uh,
majority of the people that come to me for readings is mostly the majority of them is career readings.
yeah, yeah,
They
me too.
always want career
Yeah.
readings, financial readings, and some romance. It seems like the guys, like the males who come in for readings, they want, they seldom want career readings. They want romance readings,
Oh,
like a
see, I don't get that. I've had a couple,
yeah.
you know, my gay men, right? And
Uh,
especially my Pisces gay men, they often want those. They ask those questions,
uh,
and I love them, and I'll do that. But you know what? There, a lot of them are business too with it. I don't know why. They just. I said to
yeah,
what I
like
said to.
I have gotten like police officers, people in military, and that like men who
Yeah,
come. They want a reading because their girlfriend broke up with them, and they want to know if she's coming back or things like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But it's about that time now, just like with Mark. I'm going to take a bathroom break and I will let you answer the chat. Like, if anybody has any
Sure.
questions here
Yeah.
for Brenda, uh, throw it in the chat and she'll answer your questions.
I'm here, guys. I'm
I shall
watching.
be right
I have
back.
the I have the chat and the volume off on my big screen here. I'm watching, but I'm talking to her on the phone. So, hi, Damara. Hi, darling. How are you?
Okay.
And I saw my dear friend uh, Gerald here, Trend Zone, you came into. Yeah, MJ Ninja. Nice. I'm hungry now. And MZ Ninja. Yeah, okay. And I did see my friend here, Marky Mark. Where are you? Give me a heads up there and a thumbs up. Hi, Scott, Linda. Nice to see you. Thank you so much for coming in and honoring my good friend here, uh, Star, by coming into her room and being here to support her. I feel very blessed that she, excuse me, asked me to come in here for this podcast. So, hi, there you are. I hope you've been listening to all this crazy stuff. I told you you'd hear a lot that you didn't know. However, I want to give a heads up to Marky Mark. And Star knows him very well. And I watched her podcast, and he's on a podcast with her too. He's an incredible, talented, and gifted medium. And the other day I went into his room and I asked him if he could bring forward my late husband that had passed away 11 years ago. But I made it clear I'd remarried. And he said, okay, fine. And I asked my husband to step forward for him. I said, come on, you can do this. Step up, please step up for Mark so that Mark can see you. Give him a message. And Mark put his head in his hands and he took a while and he was thinking and he was thinking. And I could see, and I'm going, oh, what's happening here? He's really having trouble. And I wondered if it was me, if he just couldn't get anything. And then all of a sudden he looked up and he said, Brenda, he says, this never happens to me, but this guy, he says, keeps saying, I'm John. My name is John. And I went, yes, his name was John. And he says he very rarely has he ever had spirit step forward. And he said he was very firm with his name. And I said, yeah, his name was John. And so he read me dead on. And also he did that to Star here. He read her brother. And
Yeah.
that's what led me to go to his room, because she had said during the podcast how accurate he was. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. It's very difficult to find really good. And I don't want to knock other people, but someone who you can trust, someone that you know who is authentic when it comes to tapping into spirit. And this is giving yourself and surrendering yourself completely to spirit, trusting, even though these really ridiculous or messages that might come through that you might say, this doesn't make sense, but it isn't meant for us. It's meant for the client. It's meant for the person that is getting the message from spirit. So heads up to Marky Mark, eh, Star?
Absolutely.
And
That was a wonderful podcast. As a matter of fact, I got a lot of great feedback from people who don't even normally like podcasts, but they said that that was a terrific one. And
yeah.
now, gone. Are you going for a break so I can say hi to
No,
Ninja?
I had to let my dog George in. He was scratching at the door. He's got to
Oh,
be with the alpha female. He's not even my dog. He came with the man. He came with the
oh, is
man.
that
I
right?
had I had the cat, he had the dog, and the cat now thinks he's a dog and it's crazy. But they has to be with me, and the cat's with him. Go figure. My cat with him, his dog with me.
Yes. I thought you were going to say the dog came with the apartment.
No, the dog came with the man. He showed up. He showed up 2 weeks after I met him with an over. This is how he showed up. He had a teddy bear, a bouquet of roses, a bottle of wine, and I didn't know he had his overnight bag he kicked in the hallway and his dog. And I went, oh, he's coming for a visit. He never went home. And I kept it completely quiet. I didn't tell anybody, my best friends. I would sneak them in and out. I was widowed, but it was like, oh my God, what are people going to say, right? This man staying overnight. What are
And
my children, my
how
grown
long ago
children, going
was
to
that?
say? Oh my God.
How
Yeah.
long ago was that, my dear?
That was 11 years ago. I was,
11 years.
I was in my early 60s. Yeah.
Oh, well, it's
Yeah.
wonderful that you guys found each other. It's awesome. I just love that story. It's an amazing story. Your life is pretty amazing. Like most people in the psychic realm, we do have pretty extraordinary lives, and I'm not sure if that contributes to what we have already going on, or if that is the cause. I don't know, but it's something to ponder for sure.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah, I'm glad that you went to Mark, and because he is incredible, I have to say. I don't know too much about that. Like I said, I'm not particularly a medium myself, but I do believe in it. I find it really fascinating topic. And when he did that reading for me, I was blown away. And then you tell me, plus other people since the podcast have sent me emails and messages saying, "I'm so glad you
Yeah.
mentioned Mark because I went to him and he told me some incredible things." So you're right, he does have an extraordinary gift in that department for
Yeah.
sure.
But I have to give a heads up to you, everybody. I went to Star for a reading too a while ago. What is it, about a year ago or something? And
Yeah.
when I went in, she said, "Oh my God, Brenda, I can't believe you're getting a reading from me. I followed you forever, and I had no idea you'd followed me. And unless people leave you comments, you don't know that, right?"
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
said, "Really, you've been following me?" And I've been following you. And she said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And I wanted to pick her brain about other topics as well. So
Yeah.
I had to pay for a reading to do that, right?
Yes, I
But
remember
anyway,
that. You said
she
to
gave
me,
me,
"Well, I basically paid for a reading to pick your brain." I said, "Brenda, you
yeah,
didn't have to do that. You could have just called me."
yeah,
But it
so
all
I did.
worked out. It
And
all
so she
worked
gave
out
me a
well.
reading, and the reading was beautiful. So she's an amazing reader, guys.
Well, thank you. I just I love being here on YouTube. I'm sure you feel this way as well.
Yeah.
It's probably the best job in the world for people like us because we do get to meet so many incredible people all across the globe. And I've made so many friends. I wouldn't know you if I hadn't chosen this as a career. Same, you wouldn't know me if you hadn't
No,
chosen this
exactly.
career. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's great.
And
And
it and it's funny too because we follow the same people.
mhm.
It's who would know, right? Who would think? Yeah, oh, she's
Yeah.
following her, and she's following her, and she's following
Yeah.
him. And so
Exactly.
it's funny how we tend to
How we're
gravitate.
drawn. Yeah, we're drawn to these. It's energy. It's all energy, I'm
Yeah,
telling you. It's
absolutely.
incredible. And we've got a lot of people here in the chat all popping in to say hi. I've got
Beautiful.
my your people Ninja. She's one of my mods. She's one of my best friends. She's my sister from another mister in California.
Yeah.
And I'm hungry now in the chat. Brenda, that's my husband.
Oh, is that your husband? Oh,
Yeah,
by the
he
way, speaking of your husband,
yeah.
I've speaking of your husband, I've caught him on his cooking show.
Oh, I'm hungry now is the name of his cooking show.
So that's why it is. And I thought there has to be something about her husband. He must be some sort of a cook.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
have seen his videos on YouTube as well.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Did you hear that? I'm hungry now. Yeah,
Yeah.
he produces the
I
show.
did.
Mhm.
Thank you, Brenda.
He produces the
Hey,
show.
you're welcome. I did. I checked you out. I thought there's got to be something with this guy. And yeah, you look very good in the kitchen. That's great. Good for
Yes.
you.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
And he's
Does he
also
do all the cooking? Does he do all the cooking,
well,
Star?
for his show he does.
Oh, okay.
But
Geez,
yeah,
to
he
have him
does.
around.
He
Yeah.
really likes to cook. He's always been somebody who loved to cook ever since we first met. He's always been one to try new dishes. Portuguese. He's from Portugal originally, but
Yeah.
I mean he's Canadian, but his
Yeah.
family's from Portugal, and he spent a lot of time there, and so he cooks a lot of the Mediterranean, European dishes and
So
stuff.
you see,
He-
again, another thing in common. My husband's French, and he was
right.
married to a Sicilian for 38 years, and
Wow.
he loves Italian food and French food. And when I met
Yeah.
him, he was in the kitchen, and I remember my grown daughter coming in one day, and she said, "Oh my God, you're in my mother's kitchen," and she let you in, and I went, "This man knows how to cook."
I
Back
know
up, back up.
about
This
it.
man knows how to cook.
My friend, my other really close friend in Florida, Mama Bear, says her husband is the bomb. In the
Yeah,
chat, did you see
there you
that?
go.
Yeah, he also did the which you complimented earlier today, the promo for tonight's podcast. He
It
did
was
the promo.
awesome.
And yeah, he's a very talented man. He's an incredible singer. He's won all kinds of
Wow.
awards for his vocal. He's a musician and just like
So was
tons.
he in a group that we should know?
Well, Tony and I were in a musical band together back in the day. It was called
Yeah.
Natural Seven. That's how I met him, actually.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
my sister and I were, yeah, it's a whole wild background we have going
Maybe
on,
I
but
should do a podcast on you next.
yeah, really. I
I've
don't
done
know, man.
podcasts for others.
I've
Maybe
got
I
some
need to
pretty
bring you
wild
in
stories.
and
Yes,
profile
I've got
you.
some. some pretty wild stories about my background as well too.
So listen, I think you guys have another YouTube channel to get going. I think that, Tony needs to get out there and encourage the two of you to get out there and get those vocals going again.
Oh, yeah, but I know we were in music for so long, though. We had to move away from it, step away from it to get on with real life. I think
Yeah.
one day, we're planning on doing this reno in our garage. We have this huge garage. It's beautiful. We want to turn it into like
The
a
studio.
podcast studio and a recording studio, maybe get back into music again.
Yeah.
These are, um, uh, what do you call them? Just basically dreams, not really dreams, but aspirations to do. It's like I can't do it tomorrow, but it is something
Okay,
that's
so listen, we all know this old adage, don't put off today tomorrow what you can do today, right? I mean, oh, this is another thing. We're never too old to reinvent ourselves either, because guys, this old girl didn't get her motorcycle license or MTO license until she was 55 years old. And yeah, I crashed and I burned and I dropped the bike and I failed it. And that year I got up, took the lesson, put 1,500K on a little 250, and I bought three brand new bikes that first year: a 250, a
mm,
650, and 1100. So
incredible.
and it's just determination and it's willpower
Yes.
and and I felt safe because I was riding with policemen and as they said, they put me in the cradle in the middle, which I didn't like. But anyway,
No, I hear you.
I survived 95 in Daytona. So I tell you that, yeah,
You know
in
what?
Florida.
It's great. I love hearing you talk about all this stuff, Brenda, because we have also been people who've reinvented ourselves many times.
Yeah,
And that whole idea of doing the podcast in the recording studio is on the books, but it's just not something we can do tomorrow. I
right
mean,
now. Yeah.
it's something that we have a couple other projects around the place that we're working on first. So
Yeah.
when that gets done, then you know what I mean. So we
Yeah.
will be doing it. It's just not sure the time frame, but we got to get back into it. We were recording duo, Tony and I, for we started off as a band. Natural Seven was six members, and Tony and I carried on as a duo for about 10 years, and we recorded a lot of material. So
Nice.
I had mentioned to you before about music. If I'm going to put any music on my channel, I just use original music because we
Yeah,
have
you're lucky.
like
Yeah.
if you go onto my channel here, one of the main things where it just has "Welcome to Star Lordess Tour." If you click on it, there's a song on there called "Time." That's Tony and I singing and
Oh, I'll
playing
have to
on
check
that.
that out. Well,
Yeah,
everybody, that's really cool.
yeah. So the music is still a part of our lives. It's just how many things can you do when
At once,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes but I love the fact that people like us, we don't stop. Like a lot of
No.
people, they just work their
Yeah.
jobs and live their lives, which is
Yeah.
fine. But at, age 60 or something like that, they just look to
Yeah.
retire and play
Yeah. Well,
golf.
you blew me away when you told me your age. I couldn't believe it either. And
Yeah.
and we also admitted we've had younger husbands in our lives too. And
Well, Tony is 5 and a half
yeah,
years
yeah. Well,
younger.
my first two husbands were a little younger than I were too.
Mhm.
Andre's the only one that's 1 year, 1 day older than me. All the others were a
Oh.
little bit younger. Yeah, but
But
yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
good for people to notice that you don't or realize that you don't have to stop. Like, you can
no,
have a career after a career, like you said, you were a
yeah,
long time in, hairdressing, and then you
yeah,
had another career afterwards. You
yeah.
can
Well, I
reinvent.
set myself up for that, and I tell people that too. Age is just a number as long as you're blessed with good health, and I've always been blessed, and I say that every day. Thank you for my good health.
Mhm.
When I wake up, before I go to bed, and I truly believe that I have that and I've been gifted. But we can't stop, and I had worked for 43 years owning this salon and having staff and working there, and then COVID hit, and that changed everybody's dynamics.
Mhm.
And I was driving 30 minutes through snowstorms and saying, why am I doing this? I don't need to do this anymore. I mean, my daughter's there. She's a head stylist. I had sold it to a girl that had worked for me for 17 years, and she was older than I was. And nobody wanted to see me go, right? I've done generations of people, right? All
Right.
those 40 some odd years. But I came to the conclusion, no, but I had already started to set myself up. from 215 because I thought, and I was doing this on the side, and I thought to myself,
Right.
I need to do something. And what have I done my whole life
Yeah.
but been of service to people, right? And what have I
Yeah.
done? I've touched people, and that's energy. Even though you might be a great stylist and know your gift in your art and your craft, but you're touching people, and
That's true.
that's an energy. They have to like you. They have to feel comfortable. And I used to say to my staff, don't come to work in a miserable mood and
Mm,
touch those people on that basin because they're going to know. I said to them, go to the
sure.
back room, grab a pile of towels, and yell the f bomb as long as you can and as loud as you can. Scream it
Yeah.
into those towels and get your butt back out on the floor and be good. Don't do this. So yeah, I had to
Exactly.
have something else. So what did I do? I went into Reiki. Again, service. We do service. This is what we do for people. We want to help people, right? We want to make people feel good about themselves
Oh,
when they leave us. And I've said to my clients, if nothing else comes out of this, when we're finished with this session, if I've made you feel better, whether no matter what, because you do too. I mean, we don't sugarcoat our readings. Anybody here that's had readings with us will admit to that. We tell it as it is, right? We're very transparent and honest. And but if they, and often they'll talk after the reading's over, and they'll say to me, I'll say, well, I hope I was of some help for you. And they'll say, I always feel better when I leave you. And that's
yeah.
all that matters, right?
Yeah.
And
Same. Yeah.
and yeah, this isn't about the money. This isn't
Yeah.
about how many people are watch our videos. This isn't about, it's about us wanting to help people.
Mhm. Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
mean, all those others, don't get me wrong, all those others are nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Keep those thumbs
Uh,
clicking, everybody.
what was that? I didn't catch that.
Keep those thumbs clicking that button.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. Making people feel happy is a wonderful quality, and people will want to be around you when you make them feel happy, when you make them feel safe, when you give them hope, when you're pleasant to them. And you know what? It doesn't take a lot to be good to people, to be nice to people. So I don't understand why more people don't do it, because I would like to see a world where everybody's getting along. Everybody
Yeah.
knows my whole motto thing is all about peace. I want to see peace in I've been praying for it from the time I was a kid until this day. I still
Oh,
pray for
yeah,
peace
yeah.
on
I,
earth around. I would love to see everybody get together and
yeah,
just work for good, because we can be so productive. The world could get by so much. So much more could be done in this
yeah,
world if we would just stop the fighting. I'm
yeah.
so tired
Well,
of
you
the
know what
fighting
I've always said,
everywhere.
and I love men. Don't get me wrong, all the men in the room. I've always I've always said that when every country is has a woman as a leader, we'll find peace.
Oh,
Because women,
I didn't catch you.
okay, did you hear that? I said I think the day we get peace is when there is a woman at the head of the country in every country, you'll see peace because we were the females in the field slopping up the blood while the men were out there doing the killing, okay? And and
Right.
I believe that the more women that will be in charge of countries will find more peace brought in because we're the
Well, I
givers of
don't know.
life.
What did you think when I think it depends definitely on the woman for sure.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
when Margaret Thatcher was in power,
Yeah.
like what did you know what I mean? I don't know.
Iron
When
britches, yeah. Yes. Although you
when
have
it comes to women in power, I've seen a lot of them that run corporations and so forth, and some of them are super cool. I mean, I ran
yeah.
a company myself too.
But
My company after he passed away. But I find
Thatcher
that a lot of women in power are really, really difficult. They're difficult. They're hard on men, but they're really hard on other women. And they can cause a lot of grief and a lot of problems, because of the gossiping and because of
yeah,
the shit disturbing, kind of thing. I've
yeah.
seen a lot of women, and I was looking at them and thinking to
It
myself, you
depends
should
on
not.
your but you hit it on the head. Star. It depends on the woman. Yeah. I mean, we can go back to
It
Thatcher and the Falkland
absolutely
Islands.
depends on, because there's
Thatcher
the
didn't waste any
you know,
time getting those ships over to the Falkland Islands. She called it. You know what I mean? So there are some good things that happen, and some things that aren't. And yes,
absolutely,
but what I'm
but you
saying is
can't
the female
you
is
can't just um, plenty of men out there who want peace, just a lot of women do. And there's a lot of women out there who want war, right? And who are not peaceful at all. So I don't know that this is really a gender thing. I think it's based on the person. The people in who are in positions of power, I think you should really take their character into consideration. If they are a peace-loving person, then yes, put them, because they'll always seek to find the solution that's peaceful,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you're dealing with somebody just all about the gossip and the shit disturbing and the war and all of that stuff, you're not gonna get anything done. You have to get cooperation of the people around you. Your whole team has to be,
Yeah.
and when it comes to people running entire countries, it's not just about them,
Yeah.
it's about their
But we
administration.
have to.
So the whole
So
administration be on board.
the root here of the whole story is, in general, women have had to fight and claw their way up to get where they're going, and these
True.
women that tend to step into those power, wanting that power role. And so I get that, right? So there is a root to this situation, but I've always said that we were always the ones mopping up the blood while the men were out there
No,
doing the
and
killing.
you're
Yeah,
absolutely right about that, and women can be, if they're the right kind of woman, can be, in a
yeah,
position of power that would lead us to peace. I, absolutely agree. I think there's some men out there that can do the same thing as well,
yeah,
but,
yeah,
it's a personality
yeah.
thing.
It is. It is. Yeah, yeah,
And you know what? I'm just tired of what's going on out there in the world in general, because we're dealing with a world that wants to play an eye for an eye. And you know
yeah,
what? That's just
mm,
leave the whole world
yeah.
blind here. We
This,
need to make sure that this stops and we advocate for peace and move
yeah,
forward. All countries everywhere, and even in your own, you can start in your own personal. Stop causing problems. Look for solutions instead of more problems.
yeah,
That's when things come around me. I'm just like, right away, I get frustrated like anybody else. But then I think to myself, how can I fix this?
yeah.
Because I'm all about, let's be productive. Let's move forward. We can't
Let's
dwell
negotiate. Yeah,
on, and if there's more world leaders out there thinking that same way, I think we'll be good. But
yeah.
the question is to find them.
Yeah, find
That
out.
may be a
Find out.
problem.
This is one of the reasons I don't do political. I don't go out here and do lives on politics.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
don't do that. I don't get into that. I try to stay
Well,
out of that.
nowadays you can't really do that on you, not on this platform. You can't,
But there are
because
people out there
if you
doing
say the
that.
wrong thing when it
Yeah,
comes to the
yeah,
guidelines and everything, and especially in this year, they're very, very, here you and I are just talking in general. We're not talking
yeah,
about specifics, but
yeah,
if you get too specific on this platform, yeah, it you can have a problem.
yeah, yeah.
That's why
I
it's
have
not
seen
good.
that. I never
Or
did it. I don't get into that. And when people have asked me to join and collaborate with them, if they're getting into that, I'll just say to them, that's not my thing. And thank you for the offer, but I don't do that. So I
well,
move on from
ask
that.
you to go on political podcasts.
No, not podcasts, just doing lives. They want to do readings on and what's going on in the current event.
Oh, I see what you mean
Yeah,
about
yeah,
reading.
yeah, and all of that.
Yeah.
But I want to talk a little bit about you too,
Mhm.
because you're going to be doing more podcasts on human interest as well, other things as well, not just spiritual things like this. You're going to be doing some really interesting podcasts as well, which I'm really
Yeah.
excited for you.
Yes, and I thank you for that, because this is what I'm doing right now is I'm covering a lot of, we talked about mediumship last week, and then this week I think next week the top is going to be astrology, and we're going to cover a lot of these things, and then we're going to talk about, you know, other psychic phenomenon such as precognitive dreams and all this. That we're going to be covering a lot of different things, but I'm also going to be doing human interest stories. I'm going to be bringing in people who just wrote a book or this or
Yeah,
that. I was talking to a client of mine the other day, and her book should be coming out in March. So I'm going to book her for that, and we'll talk a little bit. She's in New York. We'll talk a little bit about her life and what's going on there. And yeah, I'm not going to get into. I wanted to do political commentary, but I can't on YouTube. On other like Rumble and other platforms, you
yeah,
can do, you just can't do it on YouTube. So that's fine. I have no issues with that.
Yeah.
I can talk in general, like you and I were just talking in general, because
Sure.
we were just
Yeah.
talking about women and peace and love in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
That's different, but to get into specifics, you cannot do that here, and especially not in 2024. Big
No.
no-no. They're
No, for
coming
sure.
for everyone, so but
Yeah.
I think we covered a lot of really cool topics here, don't you, Brenda?
We did. I think we did. Yeah, it was
Think
great.
so. Yes, and I'm really glad that you, agreed to come on here and do this, podcast with us, and now the like, a lot well, your people are on here as well, but a lot of my people now got to hear your stories, and, um, and now they can go, sub to your channel.
That's great. I
Yeah,
appreciate that. You have a
yeah.
question here. Do you know One Love that's out here? One Love is asking, what advice do you have for those who are starting a tarot reading channel?
Mhm. Okay, well, I'll give my advice, and then you give yours.
Okay.
Okay. Well, starting a YouTube channel is easy, but it's hard because you have to be the kind of person who has a little bit of a thick skin because you're going to come on here, you're putting yourself out there, remember, to the world. And when you're doing that, you open yourself up to criticism, as watch my last video.
Yeah,
This
I saw that
YouTube
video.
channel. And you're opening yourself up to criticism. And then when it comes to like I'm not sure what kind of YouTube channel you want to start here. Is it a tarot channel? If so, then you just do the same thing Brenda and I did. If you go back and watch our oldest videos, you can see when we first started, and it was a little bit awkward when we
Yeah.
first started, but
Yeah.
then you just get better, and you have to be okay with growing on camera.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you're a child star on in Hollywood, you have to get used to growing up in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Well, you have to get used to growing in front of your audience, and you have to be okay with the awkwardness of starting a YouTube channel. Just hone your craft, and you can get out there. It's good to be on other people's chats because you can get known through there. Just don't spam people. Other than that, I mean, put it out there and see what happens. What do you have to say, Brenda?
Yeah, well, you pretty much covered it. Yeah, you're opening. You have to be comfortable in your own skin, and it reminded me of when I first started out. I would start to say something, and then I would delete, and I'd say, "Oh shit, oh shit." And my husband would be at his desk behind me laughing, right? And I'd say, "Oh, I don't like that, and I don't like this," and I was so we're harder on ourselves, I think, and it was actually very difficult for me as a Pisces to get out here because we are the fish and we tend to be introverts. People think we're the party animals, and it takes us a lifetime to step out there and
Yeah.
be able to do this. So it was hard for me to get on camera. And you don't see me a lot on camera, but I'm getting better as I get seasoned. This old crone isn't so self conscious. But the thing is, like Star said, you open yourself up to a plethora of criticism from people, and and we call those the trolls. And the big thing is, you can't take that personal. Okay, everybody's got their own issue, and it's so simple now. All you have to do is delete, okay? Remove, okay? Block. It's simple as one little finger. Nobody needs to see their nasty comments, okay? And don't take things personal. Now, I have people that'll come out and say to me, and we were laughing about this today, Star and I, where they'll say, is this Virgo or is this whatever? And I've gone and I've made the video, but put the wrong video with the wrong title. And because we're doing videos all the time, right? And unless we actually listen to them after we've made them, which none of us really want to do, um, we can make goof ups, right? So there's good constructive criticism too, but you do open yourself up to that. Have, like Star said, have a thick skin. Realize that this isn't personal. What people have to know is what we're doing out here is a general, okay, generalization. We are not giving you a personal reading. However, we have people that come to us and say, "Oh my God, that was dead on." I think that's wonderful, right? But not everybody's going to feel that. So we always say it's a general. Take what you can from it and throw the rest, I say, out into the universe, and don't take it personal, right? So yeah, there's a lot of things you have to learn, like the algorithm and the back office and your analytics and all that, but it's all there for you to learn. So if you know your craft, like Star said, and you feel secure to go out there, um, by all means. I mean, this if it's your calling, you're going to love it. And I always said to people, if you pick a profession as your career and you love it, getting paid is a bonus. That's it. It's just a bonus. If you love your job, you're going to be good at it. And people feed off of that energy. You know, we've all seen those readers that go, "Ah, da 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 da." Okay, now Aries.
Mhm.
It's like I get into, and so does you. You get into it. I love your intros. Star Lordess. It gets us right off the bat. She's caught our attention and she's fun. Oh, this is a personality I could listen to. This is someone I feel comfortable with. I think her readings are going to be great. So you have to realize that you have to put yourself out there where you actually think you're talking to that individual person, like you
Mhm.
were doing a private. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. And it's not acting. I mean, I
Mhm.
love my cards, and if I'm doing my sign, I'm going, "Holy crap,
Mhm.
Pisces! Look what we got coming up
Yeah, I
down
know,
the
I'm
road."
the same way. I'm like, "Ooh," getting all excited.
Yeah, I'm liking this, or what the
Yeah.
hell is happening to us this week?
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know,
very
so
cool.
and it's that part of it too. And yeah, well, let's face it, we're out here, we're doing something, we're out in the public, and you want to attract, you want to get their attention, and there's all kinds of videos they come out with on YouTube to guide us through that process. So if
And
you love it, if you love
you're
it, sweetheart.
absolutely right. I feel that when you're doing what you love, the money will follow.
Hmm.
And that's what people say. It sounds, cheesy, it sounds corny, but guess what? It is absolutely the truth.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, what made you want to do a YouTube channel? I know what made me wanna do it,
I
but
never did. I was talked into it. I was coerced by another another reader in Colorado, and I was reading her all the time, and I
Mhm,
was reading other psychics, right? And she said, "Brenda, you got to get out there." And I had met her on YouTube, but on this channel, and I said, "Oh, I couldn't do that." And I told you, I can't read strangers. What would I say for 30 minutes, right? She's laughing at me. She's saying, "You silly ass, you can do this." And then I had
mhm,
to learn tarot, right? It wasn't my idea, and I got basically, she guided me through the process. I made my own website. I went with GoDaddy, which was, well, I went with someone else and they shut down, and I had to scramble to get another website up and running. And I went with giving GoDaddy a ton, but they were super simple and easy. And I have to say, if you have a problem with GoDaddy, pick the phone up and you'll actually get to talk to a real technician, a
oh,
person.
yeah.
Okay, they're hard to find. So yeah, I went out here and I just flew by the seat of my pants. I was not the most I was business savvy, but I wasn't the most technical savvy person. And so I'm still, everybody's running off of iPads and running off of laptops. I still have the good old famous,
Yeah.
desktop. I like it. I got a big screen in front of me. I've got all the technology like you do, but I still like my desktop. And my husband went out and bought me a Dell. I didn't even ask for it. He's got a Mac, and I hate Mac, but
Mhm,
my phone and everything is iMac, iPhone. But he bought this laptop last week, and I went,
mhm.
he says, Happy Merry Christmas, late Merry Christmas. I said, what is it? And I said, why did you buy me a laptop? He says, because you never know, if we're way out of another country, you could just do your thing, because I know you like to do your thing. And I went, okay, whatever. It's on his desk. It's not even on my desk. So yeah. But
So
anyway, if you
what was your first, recording like? Like, did you feel silly? Did you feel weird? Did you feel
Oh,
awkward putting
absolutely,
your first
all of the above. And of course, me being in the business I'm in, right? I felt, oh, I got to have the hair done. I got to have the makeup on.
Mhm.
People were saying, "Oh, I like your jewelry. I like your
Yeah,
outfit." And I'm going, "Well, what about my readings? Never mind what I'm wearing. I want to know what
exactly.
you're thinking about my readings, right?" And
Yeah.
yeah, it very intimidated. I
Uh,
did not like seeing my face out on the screen. I was, to me, I was shy, and I didn't
mm.
like that. But that's how I started off, because everybody was doing that, right? It's only been lately that the last few years we see people's hands more, right? So
Yes.
we all keep going through transformation. We all kind of want to change things up a little bit, especially if we think, maybe my people are getting bored with watching this, and we've made our videos longer and shorter and whatever. And
And
by
you
the way,
try different things because it's a cool thing to do, just to keep it fresh, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, you commented today about seeing the split screen with me, and you
Yeah,
kind of like that.
I like that split screen for you. It's really cool. I like seeing because your face. I feel if you're a content creator, you need to show your face. You just do, because of the fact that people need to recognize that's you. You know, even if you're just a little box in a corner or
Yeah,
something, you
yeah,
need to show your face because otherwise it's too easy for others to steal your work. If you're just a voice, if you're just showing pictures
yeah.
and
Well,
your hands and stuff, somebody can download that,
yeah,
overdub it, and put it
yeah.
up as their own
But
content.
they can steal your
So,
face too, because I watched this couple over in Italy, and
yeah.
they do this thing about their life, and they said they have many times had people scam their things, and they take their thing, and there's just one little glitch. The name is a little bit different, but it's her and it's him.
Oh,
So they can still do that. Touch wood.
but not if you're live, like, they can take your picture, but they can't take you moving?
They,
Really?
they've been able to do that with them too. Yeah, they have. And I was
Oh,
surprised. I heard them talk about it today, and I thought, oh wow, holy macro, they can do it even then. I mean, these people that are hacking these people are pretty savvy when it comes to hacking.
yeah.
I like to think that I'm not that important, guys, that they even want to do that to me. But
Mhm,
we are changing things up all the time. I have the cameras. I thought, okay,
mhm.
Brenda, yeah, you got to make an effort. You can't sit here in your pajamas with your cup of tea and the cards on the desk anymore. Get out there and let people see you, who you are. And I think that's they have to. I mean, you give a good service, but people have to like you too. And I
100%.
believe
That's the
you have,
thing about having a YouTube channel. A lot of people, the rule of thumb is if you're likable in real life, chances are your channel will be
yeah,
do.
yeah,
But if you're not that liked in real life, then chances are, the channel won't do as well because of the fact that people are not relating to you because that's your problem even in your social circles. If you
yeah,
have trouble like getting people to talk with you and have a conversation with you without arguing with you or things like that,
yeah.
because there's difficult personalities out there, and it seems like those kind of people sometimes will have a hard time.
Yeah. I think it's just feeling comfortable. Like you said, in the beginning, I wasn't. I am now because my
Yeah.
whole life I've been of service to people. Like I said to you, yeah, I did their hair, and you're doing men and women and everybody, and you're touching them, and they have to like you. You could do a great haircut, but if they feel uncomfortable with your energy or you, they're not going to come back. It's like a waitress. If you have a nasty waitress, no matter how good the meal was, it kind of puts a
Exactly,
sour
that's
note on
the thing,
everything, right? So
and that waitress probably wouldn't do well on YouTube.
no.
That's the point, like, she's not liked in the restaurant, and she
Yeah,
wouldn't be
yeah.
like
So,
so.
it's odd because I'm comfortable now, but in the beginning, I think
Mhm.
it's trying things that are new right off the bat. Anything new is kind of unknown, and we feel that it's a little
Oh, it's always
daunting,
scary.
and you
It's
feel, and
scary.
it's scary. Yeah. So in the beginning, yeah, I didn't have a lot of confidence, and I must have deleted 50 million videos before I
Yeah,
finally put one out. And yeah, and
yeah.
were you like that too? But you were in the
Well,
entertainment.
I was in the beginning, I was really nervous to do it, but the reason I did it was because in 2016, when I came across your channel, I was having a difficult time. I was dealing with something and I was really stressed out and so forth. So I would go on there because I didn't even know it was a thing.
Yeah,
I was looking for uh tarot readers on you just to see if there was any, and there was, and then I went, oh, look at this, they're doing the ones with the signs, this is great. So I looked up my videos, and then I was hooked. Then I started watching your channel, I started watching Chris's channel, and Mark was part of Chris's, and now he's got his own, but he all of these people, just I was like, oh my god, I cannot believe how much this is helping me. That was the thing. I was watching these videos,
oh
and there
yeah,
was a couple of readers who were no longer on there, but they were back then, and they were so spot on. It was almost spooky. Like for a general read, it was
yeah,
like, how are they reading? And I would have these emotional, like epiphanies and these moments when I was watching these videos, and I went, what an incredible service these people are doing.
yeah,
I'm getting so much out of it. And then I would go into the chats, and then Tyler from Tyler's Tarot, and then there was Kay in the UK, and all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, I love these people. I love where
yeah,
they're coming. I found my tribe. Like
yeah,
these are my
yeah, yeah,
people."
yeah.
And this is so
Well,
awesome, so exciting. And then as I worked through my difficulties in 2017, I thought, what am I going to do now? And I went, I know exactly what I'm going to do. Spirit told me. I woke up one morning, and I just, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go on YouTube, and you're going, because those people got you through a tough time. So now it's your turn. You got to
right.
go on, and you have to be able to do that for others. And
That's
so
amazing.
the deal,
Yeah.
it was awkward as hell. I have to
Now,
tell you.
my girlfriends, like my friends, my close friends would say, "Well, Brenda, we always knew there was something weird about you, and you were always interested." I would go and buy, as soon as January came, I'd buy my favorite author and I'd buy a horoscope book of all the signs. I'm more drawn to the
Yeah.
Chinese horoscope rather than the Western. And I would get into my big bathtub with the bubble baths, and I'd close the door, and everybody say, "Oh God, Ma's in there with her guru book," and I would read it from cover to cover. The bathtub would be cold, and I'd go, "Oh damn, now it's over with. Where I got another year. I got to wait for another book." So I really loved getting into that too, and so there was always sort of a calling, but
Mhm.
having the mediumship involved in reading people in the salon, it started to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And the girl that I sold my shop to, she was Italian Armenian, and she was the Leo, the lion, right? And the other one that worked for me was Leo, but she was the quiet Leo because they're different. And one day she said to me, "Damn you!" She said, "You left yesterday, and you left someone behind." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "There was this big white ball of light by your chair," and she said it scared the crap out of me. And she said, it was there for about an hour after you left. And I said, "Yeah, I've been known to leave things behind, and I've left because I have children around me all the time. And people, when I read them, will often see orbs around me. And a lot of them are children. And they used to poke Andre, my husband, in the leg all the time to provoke him. And he'd say, "Well, you'll tell them to leave me alone." And I said, "No, you're ignoring them. Acknowledge them, set your boundaries, and they'll back off, right? Because they're just kids." Well, anyway, um, I remember I was doing someone's hair the one day, and I never wanted, even though I was the boss, I never wanted to be the center of attraction. So I had my chair at the back of the room, so I could see who was coming in the door. All my staff was at the front. So I'm doing someone's hair, and I'm going to cash her out, and I can hear this voice, and he says, "My name's Henry," just like Mark here said he heard my husband's name. And he's saying, "I'm Henry. I'm Henry. Tell her not to go. Catch her. Don't let her go. I have a message. Don't let her go." And I'm trying to, because they get loud. When you're a medium, they're in. And I
Mm,
always say they come in from behind. And when I do mediumship, I talk very quickly because they're throwing information at me that fast. And
mhm.
I'm trying to cash this client out. And in my mind, I'm saying, like, get lost, get lost. I can't do this right now. So finally, she was getting up to walk to the door to the desk to pay. And the girl that she had done her hair was the girl that had worked for me. She was the owner of the shop by then, because they begged me to come back, and they said, "Just come. I'll rent you the chair for nothing. Just come. I want you in the salon." So anyhow, they wouldn't let me retire, right? So anyhow, I went up to her and I said, "There's someone here with me." And this woman was a Reiki master and quite spiritual herself. She didn't read, but she knew. And she said, "I know what you do." She said, "Who's here?" And I said, "His name's Henry, and he's loud, and he wants to give you a." She said, "Oh my God, that's my brother. He died 8 weeks ago." So I gave her the reading. I told her what he wanted her to hear. He also brought forward another woman, her sister, and I described her and her health issues, because they show me health issues with people too. And I described her father, who what she said, "There's a man who walks the perimeter of my property around my house." I said, "Yeah, it's your father." She said, "Yes. What does he look like?" And I described him and everything. So I have read people in airports. I've read people in shopping malls, because when they come to you, they won't leave you alone.
Mhm.
And I had a message from my late husband that too, and it was with the it was with the guy that was selling me the crypt outside in the field. My daughter said to me, "Mom, what happened was I had to move my husband's body from one crypt to another because there was a water cave in below it, and the crypt was going to fall apart." So I went to his site and I had a talk with him, and I said, "Listen, John," and a hornet flew out of his crypt, out of his niche. And I went, "Oh, that's going to piss you off. You can't like that." So I said to him, "I need to move you." And I said, "I don't want to do this, but I need you to give me a sign." So the first time I went, I never cried. And I thought, "Oh my God, I'm okay now." I'm not crying. I've accepted this. I'm okay. And I said, I need you to give me a sign that you know I'm moving you. And they had built this new arch where these all these crypts were going to go in.
Mhm.
And we went over. I had my grandson with me. He was about 8 at the time. And the guy was opening his book and he's saying, yeah, well, the letter H is available, the letter G is available. And I said, well, what about the letter B? Because that was our last name. It began with a B, right? Why wouldn't you put him in the B section? And my grandson went up. And for some reason, he walked over and he rubbed his hand on one where there was a letter B. And my daughter looked at me and looked at him. And we looked at each other and we didn't say anything. So he said, yeah, I can look up the B's. You ready for this? He opened his book and he said, oh, we've got number B555 available.
Mm.
And my daughter grabbed my arm and she said, oh my God, Mom, you know what that number means. I know you know there's a meaning to it. And the guy turned and he looked at me and he said, are you psychic? And I turned my back on him because the minute he said that to me, spirit stepped forward and covered me. And I went, oh, I'm not here to do a reading. Please. I'm here for, you know. So sure enough, they stepped forward. But anyway, I said to her, yeah, I said, 5 is a number of change. And
Mhm.
he knew that he was being moved and he gave me that message. And my grandson had rubbed his hand on it. And I had said, is that the one you would like? You rubbed your hand on that. Is that where you'd like me to put Papa? And he said, yeah, I like that one, Nana. And that was the number. And it was amazing. So they send you messages from the other
Yeah,
side. He
yeah,
sent
I
me
do.
that message. It was
I do.
amazing. But I
Well,
had
now
to read this guy. This guy,
I
you know, they came forward. It was his all about his wife who's alive and all about his sisters who are alive and all their health issues they had. And I described all of them. And he said, you know, lady, you're spooking me out. And
yeah.
I said, well, and he said, your mother's psychic. And she said, yeah, and she's a little crazy too. She's a Libra. She just tolerates what we do. She knows it's there, but she kind of puts it over here. Yeah, my mother does this,
Yeah, yeah,
but then it's, Mom, can you do your thing? It's raining here, you know?
yeah, you know what? We could just go on and on all night. It's just so many incredible stories, and I want to thank you. I should let you go. It's getting late on the East Coast, so
Yeah, yeah.
I want to, like I said, thank you very much for coming on. And would you like to come back on the show again? I Because we have only scratched the surface here. So
I don't know. Yeah, absolutely. If, you know, in the near future, we can talk about different things and,
yeah,
yeah,
I,
absolutely different,
yeah,
you
I'd
know,
love to have
natural
you back. Like
realities.
I said, I'm going to be talking about all different topics. From
Yeah.
ghost stories to psychic phenomenon, precognitive dreams, and everything else. So yeah, we can have another chat. And in the meantime, can you want to tell the viewers where they can find you?
Yeah, I mean, my it's Brenda Tarot card readings, and please come and check me out. Yeah, I do Light Star. I do the 12 zodiac signs every week. Plus, I have an extension to my channel which is called Pisces Everything. Because I have to say, guys, I love all of you, but Pisces are my biggest followers, and my videos get the biggest hits. So we do have to think on a business level too.
Good.
So I have this side gig here where I do the daily vibe from your guides, Pisces, and I do the weekly and the weekends. And occasionally I go out with finance and career as well for the month. But yeah, I'm shooting out about 18 to 20 videos a week. So it keeps us pretty busy. But I love what I do. So please go check it and just enjoy my videos and my readings. Keep in mind they're general, but yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty good, folks. So thanks again for joining us, and we will see you in the very near future. But we will be seeing you on YouTube, right, people?
Absolutely. So yeah, we'll be in touch, you and I, for
Okay,
sure.
for
Okay,
sure.
so thank you everybody, and lots of love and many blessings.
Yes, and take care. Much love in going forward in this wild, wild year of
Yeah.
2020.
Okay.
So I'll be staying on the live for a few more minutes to catch up with the chat. But thank you very much, Brenda.
Okay.
Take care.
Take care,
Okay.
everybody. But much
Bye.
love.
Bye. Bye. Hello, everyone. So, what did you think of the podcast with our lovely guest, Brenda? Let me know in the chat here what you think. I've missed all of the chat here, but boy, oh boy, you guys are very chatty. Uh, well, I did say hello to my mama bear and of course Ninja. Marky Mark, hey you. Oh, my buddy. How are you doing, Mark? And Scott, nice to see you here in the audience. Pia Lee. Oh, so nice. I'm so glad that you guys, all of the new viewers here in the chat, thank you very much for coming. I guess you came because you're viewers of her channel, but you're very much welcome. I'll be doing this podcast on a regular basis, so you're welcome to come back next Sunday for the Sunday Night Live podcast. But I want to just take a look at some of the chat. There's a lot going on here. I don't think I'm going to catch up on this anytime soon. Oh, I know you really enjoyed last week's. We've got Linda here. Um, okay. Hello, Linda. Hello, Mark. Hello, Scott. Hello, Pia. Hello, CC. Dusty Flats is here. Oh, Ruby's Angel. Hello, Amanda, my darling. I'll be seeing you at the end of the month, won't I? You're going to be coming around for a reading, a yearly reading. And we have Dharma Lynn. Welcome to the audience, all of you. Lovely Green. So, how is your Sunday evening? How did your weekend go? Did you have a good weekend, people? Was Mike on here? Yeah. Okay. So, Mike, if you're still watching, hello, Mike. Oh, it's so nice. Venice. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good podcast too. We were just, these podcasts are completely unrehearsed. So it's just a matter of, hey, let's get together and let's, this is the topic. We're going to talk about this stuff. We're going to see, where it goes. And so far, this is the second one. And I think the audience is really liking it. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. And it's wonderful for you guys too. It's this a lot of the same people. You get to come in here and chat with the people you were talking with last week, and yeah, it's just amazing. I'm having a good time doing this. I'm very glad that. What was this, Dusty Flats? You said you dug carrots in 2 inches of snow. Where do you live, Dusty? Oh, Eliza, you made it, my dear. Yes, I sent you a message this morning letting you know that it would be around noon, your time, right? You're in Australia. Was I correct about that? I was saying that the podcast would start around 12 noon for you. And let me know in the chat if I was correct on that. I'm pretty good with my time zones. Oh, 2 feet of snow. All right. So where are you, Dusty? Oh, yes. So I was correct, right, Eliza? How are you doing in Australia? I guess it's summertime for you guys, so you're not dealing with snow, that's for sure. So Scott, you're in Florida. I guess you're not dealing with snow either. But that's just because you don't get snow there, but um Australia does get snow. It's just that they're opposite to us. So when we are having winter, they are having summer. Oh boy. Oh, it's pouring? What? It's pouring with rain. No summer here yet, sadly? Really? You haven't had any summer yet? Wow. Oh, I guess it's technically the summer season, but it's just raining all the time, I see. Oh, so Pia, you're in the Midwest and getting slammed with snow. Yeah, the weather's just been crazy all over the place. It was mild, 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 and then all of a sudden, all hell broke loose. This is just incredible. Incredible what's happening here. I missed last week's podcast with Mark, hoping it was a yes. Actually, Venice, it is on the channel. All you have to do is go to the channel, like the main page on the channel, and then where the video it says videos, and then it has shorts, and then live. Just click on the live one, and then all the live broadcasts will come up. So yeah, they're up there. New York's getting snow on Tuesday, Ruth. Yeah. Didn't you guys already get some snow on the weekend? A little bit of snow. But yeah, this is where we're at now, eh? We're at that place where we are getting lots of snow, and then Australia apparently is getting lots of rain. So I just want to make sure you're in Maryland. Sorry, I meant the poor Midwest is getting slammed. Okay. Dusty -2 now. Okay. So, the time has come where I must say good evening to all of you, and thank you so much for joining the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some value out of it. And if you did, then come on back next Sunday. You know where we're at, and you also know where you will find I'm Hungry Now and Ms. Ninja. Thank both of you guys. Thank the moderators here for tonight's show. They've done a wonderful job. So, yeah, they're two terrific people. One's my sister, and one is my husband. Yes, I have you. I wish you as well a safe and wonderful weekend. All of you, much love. Mwah. Star Lordess, although I don't want to, I have to sign off now. Take care and take it easy. And we'll see you all, well, the weekly readings, and then we'll see you for the live next Sunday. Bye bye for now.